What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Partially Cultured Podcast. I'm your host, Darren, and with me, as always, is our co-hosts, Alan and
How's it
Isaac.
going?
Guys?
And today, actually, let me do this first, in case you guys don't stop, stay till the end of the video. Check us out on our social media. Check out our website, partiallycultured.com. If you go to partiallycultured.com, all of our social media links are in the bottom of the homepage. And, send us an email, leave us a comment, what you'd like for us to talk about, etc. What you think about what we've talked about, what's your opinions on stuff. We'd like to hear all that stuff. So today's topic, everybody has, had some experience with or knows something about, and we're going to talk about aliens and UFOs. So I guess to get us started, do you guys believe in aliens?
I do. I don't see how you can't think that aliens in some way are real. It's numbers.
So I'm going to shock everybody and say that I don't believe in aliens, actually. I think it's an interesting topic,
Okay.
But I don't think that they exist.
All right. So that being said, then, this should be an interesting topic.
Yeah.
So
I thought Isaac did.
I do. What they are, I don't know. I have my own theory on it, but I don't know. So
let's define aliens then, if that's a situation.
Well,
I think. What do you think? What's your theory?
Not human beings.
Okay. What about just like an invertebrate or or some kind of other organism?
No.
Like, is any organism described as an alien?
No, an alien, I would say, is
not from this earth,
not human,
or this dimension.
Is not human, number one, and has an intellect comparable or superior to humans.
Well, I mean, dolphins. What if, for all we know, dolphins are as intelligent as us or smarter than us? We don't know that. Just because they value different things.
What you would consider?
I would say things that are off of this planet, like a life form that is off of this planet.
We can't even say that because
out of this dimension.
Some people
different
say
dimension.
that aliens already live among us.
Yeah, well, that's true. Well,
of origin outside of
a life form that originated, off of this planet or on a different plane of existence.
Okay. Gotcha. So that's our definition. So now, do you believe in them?
But I do. I mean, you're not getting if there's a fucking trilobite that's floating around in space dust. That's still an alien.
Well, that's why I wanted to. That's what I wanted to clarify, because is there? I would even go forward to say that it's very unlikely for that to even exist. But
okay, let's make it easy. Aliens as society depicts, little green men or big tall grays or whatever. Aliens like that drive around in fancy spaceships.
Yeah, the reason why I don't believe they exist is, it's kind of like the evidence that we have or the lack of evidence that we have as far as showing things happening here on Earth. Like, we don't see Yetis, we don't see, what do you call it, Sasquatch or whatever. I mean, we don't see those things around, or we don't have evidence of those things around. But people think that exists because something abnormal shows up, like a footprint or just some weird event, and they can't describe what they're seeing. So the best that they can do is, it's this hairy looking creature, this and this and that, So I know that there's been a lot of evidence that we would quote unquote call evidence from, from historical accounts of people seeing green men or seeing these things or whatever. But can it not just be that we all have seen something particularly similar, and we've all been indoctrinated with the idea that the little green men look like this. You know, even in the 50s and 60s, they already had an idea of what a
What
little
Well,
green
it doesn't.
man looked
I
like.
mean, that's just little green men is just a like it's just a term that we're using to talk
yeah,
about intelligent
but
life. It
what
doesn't have,
about
they don't have to be necessarily
what
small brain.
about cave drawings and stuff, and like and the stuff they found in like Egypt and the pyramids and stuff, depicting like what if you look at them, they look like what I would
They're
consider a
just
flying
crappy
saucer.
artists at the time. I mean,
You can't distinguish, you can't draw a bird compared to a UFO. I mean,
You ever you ever heard of the Fermi paradox?
mm-mm.
No. So Fermi paradox is literally about this, where there's there seems to be a lack of evidence for extraterrestrial life, but there's there's all these high probability numbers that speak to how likely it is that they exist, or how unlikely it is that we don't have that there isn't something else in the universe that exists that's intelligent, right? And it juxtaposes against like our understanding of what life is, right? And what would count as life. And like if you think about it, like what we can fundamentally even like see of the universe, like the universe is so mind-bogglingly like large and just
Mm-hmm.
vast. Like if we had faster than light travel, we could spend 100 million lifetimes traveling around and still not find them if there was another life form. No, just from how
Oh
large the
yeah, I
universe
mean
is.
it's huge.
I mean
So
that's
you think about every star that you look at has a possible galaxy. It's part. It can be part of a galaxy. It can have its own solar system associated with it.
Yeah,
And you look into, and that's just one. That's just the stars that we can see. There's shit tons of stars we can't even see. Like I don't see. Like just
the
because,
numbers don't add up.
yeah, and just because there's lack of, and here's the thing with the Fermi paradox, it says that there's a lack of evidence, but I disagree. I think that we have a lot of evidence, and what we would normally consider evidence, we almost, and not only us as humans, but like the governments and everything around us, almost purposely always come to the agreement that it's not evidence or that it's fake, right? Like Aaron was saying earlier, what about simultaneous cultures across the globe all making pyramids, all having depictions of a god that's man made, that looks like a man that comes out of the sky and lands down, right? Like teaches us how to do things, or teaches us how to be better people, or teaches us this. Like what if all these depictions of God is of these ancient civilizations experiencing first contact? Like how do you know that's not what it is? Why are we, you know what I mean? Like what, it's
yeah. I mean, it's fun to think
kind of
about,
strange that
but
the completely disconnected world where there's oceans across and we supposedly can't traverse the oceans, yet there's exact same very similar pyramid structures all across the world. China has pyramids, the Celts had pyramids, or mounds, right? Egyptians, Aztecs, Mayans, fucking Incas were trying
well,
to
the biggest
something
pyramid
similar
in the
to
world
them,
is actually in, I think, in the Yucatan or something like that. It's like under a hill.
Yeah,
It's been like covered up or
there's
whatever.
lots of shit like that.
It's
It's very
cute to
similar.
think that
Also,
that's the case, but
there's
I just think that
well,
okay. So I mean, so these aliens came down, right, or and advised or helped us, and then left. What would be the goal there?
to shepherd us into the road of evolution, right? Like you have tribes, and then you give them enough information to kickstart civilization by showing them how to, you know, grow crops and not be nomads, right? Actually live amongst each other, build small tribes, build towns, build villages. Now you're growing food, right? Because that's literally what caused us to change from nomads to being to having like towns and civilization, right? Is the ability to provide more food than what we can consume in one area at one time. It allows us to build towns, build more food. More food development allows for people that don't have to be farmers, and then those people can now learn something, become scientists, invent things, whatever it is. Like
So you think do you think that
without that
they're
one
you
thing
think that they
happening,
didn't just leave after that first contact or whatever, that they're actually still around?
we don't know.
No, I'm just curious. What do you
There's
think?
some
I mean,
people. I think that they periodically visit to check what's going on, or to influence what's happening, or maybe to stop things from happening. For all we know, there's literally aliens that the government is completely aware of, and they're like taking orders from them and doing what they got to do. For all, like literally, for all we know, the them that we speak about, or the they that they speak about, are those people. Like what if it's some fucking like real crazy shit like Men in Black, where they're literally living among
I
us?
was just getting
Like
ready.
you have
I was just getting ready to say, it's really funny how art imitates real life. I mean, some of these movies, I don't know. I mean, there's a reason.
there's also like you think about that old saying, you can't boil a frog, right? You can't throw a ball, you can't throw a frog into boiling water.
Yeah,
You have to like slowly cook it. What a fucking coinky dink that literally last year the government comes up and says, "Hey, UFOs are real. We don't know what they are, but there's definitely unidentified flying objects flying the fuck around that we can't that don't seem to follow the rules of physics as we know it, right? We could hypothetically could be that China has leapfrogged everything we know of existence, and Russia maybe developed some crazy bullshit that we don't know about, but we can't explain it.
if they
We
had,
don't know what it
if that
is.
was the case, they would have already taken over the Earth.
Okay, that's my whole thing. So, but they didn't do that 50 years ago. No, right? They didn't do that 100 years ago. No, 100 years ago, 50 years ago, they wrote
yeah,
fucking
it's
books
easier.
and movies. And then
It's
they made more stories and
Nah.
more
See,
stories and more sci-fi
to me,
stories
it'd
or
be
more books
easier to
and TV
say,
to slowly acclimate the society and civilization. They even got it to the point where no one believes it. Even if the government literally said, we don't know what these ships are. We think there's something that we can't explain. There's literal fucking aliens. They
it
said
would be
that's
easier for me to
pretty much
convince
what
the
they said.
American
No one
public
even cares.
that there is that there are aliens, by just because of the stupidity of America the way that it is currently. I mean, people will believe anything. So it would be a smart idea for them to say, "Oh, we don't know what it is. It could be aliens." But in actuality, they're just freaking doing these experiments off the coast of freaking, you know, Pacific Ocean or whatever. So
You think that
So
every instance in the
no, I'm
in
saying
the
now
history
it's
of
easier for them
people,
to use that quote unquote knowledge and belief that people have about UFOs as just another way of covering it up, whatever of evidence they do have.
and why did they make such a big deal of denouncing aliens and extraterrestrial life 50 years ago? Then
No, 50 years ago,
why wouldn't that be the
th-
same? They literally said that aliens aren't real. That fucking Roswell's fake. All that stuff's fake. It's all bullshit. That's not real. Why wouldn't they just say, hey, maybe? Like, Why wouldn't they leave that up to question? Why would they all of a sudden just say like, maybe? We don't know what it is, but there's
well,
something that's really fast and
I
dangerous
then
happening
you'd
there.
have
I think that goes
you'd have
back to
people going
your
crazy.
you,
Like, just
you go back to your last point that we hadn't been indoctrinated enough. We haven't been conditioned to be like, oh, okay, aliens are cool. You know,
But why bother indoctrinating if there's nothing to indoctrinate
I,
about?
you're preaching to the
what?
You feel
Because
me?
choir.
because there'd be
Why put
mass
all the
hysteria.
50, 60, 70 years
Did
of,
you
of
see? Do you
global
see some of the stuff that the
systemic
Nazis were freaking
indoctrination?
developing over there? I mean, they had some weird shit, and it was way advanced for the time. And if it wasn't for money, they would have already had way better bomber systems and fighter systems than what we had at the time. For them to admit that, because at the time we were becoming the biggest nation in the world. For us to declare that they had this technology in other places, especially like in Russia, which was our Cold War enemy, to admit that they had better equipment would have been stupid. I mean, it was already causing issues um, with the nuclear thing, because I mean everybody was like jumping under desks to think that would save their lives in the case of a nuclear attack. I mean, it was a day to day life thing where nuclear disaster was a possibility. To add something else, like, oh hey, they have also better equipment and this and that. That would cause even more hysteria, I think. So
But so you're saying that they didn't say it was extraterrestrials because they didn't want to cause a panic, and they left it up to people's imagination that it was the secret government projects and military experiments because they didn't want people to freak out about the fact that it was secret government projects
I
and
mean,
military experiments.
people even before Roswell were talking about.
Because everyone assumed that it was secret government projects and military
Well, they
experiments. When Sputnik happened and everyone freaked the fuck out because the Russians got to space first, everyone literally freaked out and had a
Yeah,
huge
exactly.
meltdown
But imagine that
and thought the
happening
Russians were
earlier.
gonna. No, no, I'm talking. But the Sputnik happened before, like say Roswell, right? So why not say, hey, Roswell's us responding to them? Why say specifically it's not aliens? And why for every single other instance of extraterrestrial life or people stories people have, why go through all the hassle of almost every one of those people getting demonized, ridiculed? There's like even stories of like the FBI or the NSA getting involved to like investigate people and them leaking information, like Bob Lazar. You ever heard of Bob Lazar?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what's up with that? Why would they go through all that hassle and all that
Well, I
energy?
mean, there's no denying that they were doing something out there. They don't want the evidence of the things that they were doing out there
What
being
if,
exposed.
what if the government, maybe it's not that the aliens are here anymore. What if with the advent of our ability to scan the world, use satellites, do all kinds of deep penetration, lidar and shit across the whole, what if we found some of these relics? What if we were able to find the old ships that landed or old pieces of technology, and that's maybe what we've been reverse engineering to have this like gigantic leap in technology in the last 150 years? Maybe that's something. I don't know.
Oh, I mean, if we're doing that though, every government's doing that because it'd be silly to think that if they only landed in like the United States.
No, but we're the first. If someone was going to be scanning the world, you need global satellites. That's like the first thing you'd need to do, right? And we, in competition with the Russians, were pretty much the only places that even got close to doing something like that. Like the rest of the world almost relied on us to do space. Like besides NASA and Russia, they like countries like China and India just started their space programs. There hasn't even been other countries that even went into space. That like even when they wanted to launch satellites, they would come to us to launch them for them, right? Like companies, corporations, NASA would launch them for them. Like, how do we know that they weren't messing with things or making sure that things were not visible, or would we only allow them in certain airspaces or certain types of
Wouldn't you think,
scanning?
though, that if aliens were capable, that they would prevent us from getting their equipment and reverse engineering it?
I don't think they would care. It's another part of maybe that's part of the plan. Maybe by the time maybe they've done this infinitesimal amount of times. For all we know, this is an experiment. For all we know, we're a living experiment, right? Like, and we're cloned a billion fucking times, and we're on a billion different planets, and we're all just like living out a pre-programmed thing that we're supposed to do, to like an ant farm, like a huge ant farm where they kickstart life on this planet with us as these creatures that maybe we are made in their image. What if like the aliens are just what humans were before they evolved to what they are now? What if we are the ancient ancestors of the aliens that are now doing experiments to see how their civilization got to where they were? Like, we don't fucking know. It could be anything.
Yeah,
So-
it could be a lot of things, I guess.
So, how do we explain or debunk these Air Force pilots and stuff that see these crafts that are defying physics?
Like
I
literally.
don't know. I mean, some of that,
Like-
some of those videos that you've seen don't really give you what they've seen, right? So it's hard to say like what they've exactly seen, because the videos look
Well,
they're grainy as shit. You barely.
Are we saying they're lying?
Maybe not lying, maybe just unintentionally, they just don't know. I mean, the fact that they don't know what it is doesn't mean that it's a UFO, like it's an alien. It's just a UFO. It's unidentified. I mean,
Well, here's my point. If I'm going to go to somebody in a profession that would know about flight speed and how things that fly react to different G-force and turns and stuff like that, I'm saying probably the top people are going to be like Air Force pilots, Navy pilots in general. So even if the video is grainy or whatever, I mean, they know what they saw.
or they think they know what they saw. I mean, what if they just had, a lack of oxygen to the brain with those high G forces that are happening? The brain catches up.
They all imagine
Maybe
the
they
same
just
thing.
imagine something, or it's not.
Then why would the government come out and say, yeah, there's unidentified aerial vehicles that are breaking the law of physics? and
Did
we
they
can't
admit that they were
explain them."
breaking the laws of physics? I remember them saying that they were
They're saying
UFOs,
they're doing things.
but-
They're doing things. They're saying they were like, there's unidentified aerial vehicles or something like UAVs or something. They're not calling UFOs anymore, and they're like that they're doing things that have there's these vehicles that are performing maneuvers that, as far as our understanding of physics, is not possible. Like we don't know how they're doing what they're doing. Like we don't know.
I'll just
How-
go ahead
what's-
and I'll go ahead and put on my tinfoil hat and just tell you guys I have seen one. I was probably 11 or 12. And I've told this to people before, and they're like, "Whatever, you're 11 or 12. You made that up. You just watched a UFO movie or whatever." But bullshit. I know what I saw.
Lynette said the same
We were
shit.
standing on the porch. It was me and my dad, and it's weird light coming through the window. I was like, "What the hell is that?" We're standing on the
They're coming
porch.
back for you.
Yeah, it's like 8 or 9 o'clock. Clear night. We're just looking in the sky, chilling in the summer, and I saw a light come down slow, way, way out. I mean, it's not like it came down and hovered over my head, right? And it just looked like a light. But it came down real slow, and I'm like, oh, it's probably a satellite, whatever. I remember thinking that, just because I'm just watching it as a kid, and then it stopped. I'm like, why is it not moving anymore? And then I swear to God, it went and disappeared straight up. I was like, did I just see what I think I saw? And I know for a fact that that is exactly what I saw. And I can't, if you can tell me another explanation of what that was, I'd be glad to hear it. Anybody.
That's the thing. We know what it is, but people are scared and don't want to
I'm
believe
not
it
scared.
because it goes against. Yeah, you
I'm not
are.
scared.
You're scared about what that
I
means
don't give a shit.
about your faith or
I don't.
us or about just life
No,
in
I just
general.
don't think anything else would even give a crap about humanity enough to even visit here. Honestly,
We literally, what make like why would we be at least interesting as a zoo, right? Like if it's literally just some intelligent life form stumbled upon this planet and was like, oh shit, look at these funny monkeys. They're doing interesting things. Look at them build little structures. That's adorable and cute. Like literally just as a novelty for like an ant farm, right? Let's say it was just that. That'd still be interesting enough to be like,
okay,
let's
wouldn't it
go to
be interesting
Mom,
if
Dad,
that's the
let's
only
go
zoo
to
that you
Earth
ever
for the
found? I
zoo,
mean,
the
if you
animal
found
zoo.
multiple other zoos out there, I think you'd probably be more inclined to go visit those.
No, but what if it'd be? It's like no, but why would it? Why would it? What if there's like a shit ton of the planets and they all do that? And that's just that, mind you. That's just under the assumption that they weren't involved in any way in shepherding things or putting us here or anything. Let's just say they just fucking happened to land here. They can't survive and they don't have any interest in the planet and consuming the resources, right? And making sure that we don't destroy anything,
Well, they've done a shitty job
right?
of that so
So that they
far.
can come and
But
take it
yeah,
later.
go ahead.
Well, we don't know that because we don't know how. We don't know. For all we know, they are like some super carbon loving, like
They're-
CO2 loving.
they-
They need the planet really hot, and they're like, "Hey, I know how to make the planet habitable for us. We build a life form that over the course of 10,000 years fucks the planet up and makes it so it's really hot, and the sea levels rise, like, and we're like a designer plague that gets put onto the planet, and just by the time they can make it here, because their probe, which they sent out 10,000 years ago, it takes 10,000 years for them to arrive. So they got the relay, they sent the fucking probe, they got the probe, they sent us here to get everything ready, and now they have a mothership that's coming. And it's just gonna be here any minute now until when we fuck this planet up another 100 years, and then they come and they're on time. Like we don't even know. That's what I'm saying. We have
I
literally no
love
fucking
your
idea.
imagination.
There's so many possible
You know what's
explanations.
funny is that anybody that does believe in UFOs just has these crazy backstories and ideas about everything that happens. But
No, I'm saying it's not that I believe this stuff. It's that I'm saying that there's so many reasonable
okay.
possible
All
explanations.
right. So let's segue into that. What do you think aliens are? What's the backstory? Because I don't buy all the whole seeding the planet and all that. And I think the talk about aliens and government hiding this and that. I think what it really happens, or what it boils down to, is what it means for religion. What it does to people's belief system. I still have my belief system, and I'll stick to that. And the origin of aliens goes along with my religion, so I'm okay with that. But anyway, what do you think about aliens? Where did they come from?
I'm not even sure if they're from a different planet. For all I know, they're from a different dimension that exists in the same like physical location but on a different plane. Like I do think there's some sort of intelligent life form that I do not understand if it's from a different planet or from a different dimension, but that there's some other life form that exists out there that is involved in slowly getting involved in human affairs in some way, whether that be just they're the exact same intelligence as us and they crossed some kind of interdimensional portal that they fucking stumbled upon, and now they're slowly coming in and we're acclimating to them and learning from them. Or maybe they're really really intelligent in one part of things that we're really bad at, but we're really really good at something else that they're really bad at. Like maybe we're really good at warfare, they're really bad at it because that's not something they've ever developed. They went the other side of the spectrum and went super like harmonious, learning how to explore shit. We didn't go that way. We worried about destroying things, so we got really good at war. And they're like, hey, maybe we can come over to their side of the dimension and become harmonious. I don't fucking know. I don't know if it's that. I don't know if it's seeding the planet. I don't know what if it's just coming over here for resources. I do not know. I don't know if there's multiple different races of creatures, but I do think that there's some kind of intelligent life form out there. It could literally just be a fucking cockroach somewhere or an octopus
I need
or whatever it is.
sugar.
yeah, right. I'd be more
Yeah.
inclined if aliens did exist. I'd be more inclined to believe that they are interdimensional um, human beings that maybe were exposed to a different, like, I mean, maybe exposed to a different, obviously a timeline because it'd be different dimension, but it would be humans, and the only reason I believe that is because we don't know anything about these other dimensions that are possibly coexistent with us where they are, but there's evidence as far
Shit.
as dark matter and
The other
other
dimensions
energy
exist.
that exists in the universe that has to be fulfilled. It has to be used in some other capacity. Probably, I mean, like that's what our thinking would be, is that I can coexist, and we know from like um, what do you call it, from like recent scientists looking into like not physics necessarily, but metaphysics, I guess. What exists on the same plane? There can be energy that can exist here. We can have quantum entanglement, where like on a different dimension, there's essentially two items taking up the same amount of space, the same exact space. There's quantum theory that says that like technically this wall is hard, but if I stand against it, there is a chance that my arm can go through this wall without any energy being pressed on it, other than just that.
What if that's what it is?
So
That's exactly it. That could
that's what I'm
be.
saying.
That
I
could
can
be
only
aliens.
take that, but like I would think that those events would only occur ever so slightly because the chances of it occurring are supposed to be one in like 7 billion trillion or something like that. Some crazy number. But
But think of how many of those. Think of every possible interaction that happens on a daily basis on a planet filled with a billion people. All the different energy, like the sun, like all the tiny little flaps of the
well,
butterfly wing
that's where
that
I'm more
happen.
inclined to believe that that's what we would, if you were looking at miracles
Could be.
in a you know in a quantum or physical level or whatever, in a scientific level, those might be things that happened through the
What if those are
quantum realm.
spirits? What if what we think is? What if those things that are aliens that are just interdimensional beings or humans that are on a different dimensional plane that are evolved differently or
So
are just existing on a different plane? What if those are spirits?
so those
What if that's also a part of faith? Like, you know what I
that
mean?
that kind of leads into my belief about them intertwined with my faith. So a lot of people probably call me nuts after they see this, but I don't think aliens are nice. I think they have no good intentions. And my belief is, if I have to put something on it, probably fallen angels or descendants from fallen angels. The Bible says, that they were kicked out of heaven and, came down and had, kids or, with um, human beings, and, the giants were born, or the Nephilim. Um, Bible really never says where they went. So, kind of my
Who the fuck
theory.
knows?
Don't know for sure, but I agree that they are probably more spirit like than physical like. Um, but I don't know.
Shit.
I don't know. I don't know.
What if all the creatures that we've ever heard about, fucking vampires, werewolves, Bigfoot, all that
They
stuff,
all exist.
right? What if they're just these beings? Like what if they're just how we or people have perceived these things in history? What if like every culture across the planet has had some kind of story about vampires, right? A lot of cultures across the planet have had stories of dragons, right? Different shapes, different types, but dragons existing in some way in ancient civilizations, and werewolves and shapeshifters. What if that's not a coincidence? Like, what if those are because of different instances in history where these beings, whether they be aliens or spirits or fallen angels or whatever it is, those things crossing the plane or arriving or leaving, and like interacting with humanity.
It makes
What if that is
it
aliens?
makes a good point or question in my head when you bring that up. I never thought about that, but all those things could be testing the waters. Like, how are they going to accept this big furry 8-foot ape looking thing? Well, okay. Well, how do they accept, you know, vampires
Chewbacca.
or freaking, you know,
Chewbacca.
whatever, you know,
Oh,
yeah, Chewbacca.
yeah.
I
Or
mean,
they don't like Interview with a Vampire. They think that stuff's creepy, but Twilight they love it, right? So like they're like, you just got to make them
you just
romantic.
gotta make them,
Like,
you just gotta make them glisten.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's a good. I mean, you're right. I mean, but that being said, most of those things you mentioned are bad. So,
well,
That's true. Or
I
would
mean
we
that's
consider
all
bad?
in that's
I mean,
all in the
can
it's
it
all in
not
the eye of
just
the
be
beholder, I
that? I mean,
guess.
in the past, the biggest enemies that humanity had were bears and wolves, and maybe serpents and stuff like that, and that they made stories about the things that we had an issue with before we took the top.
What
sure.
about dragons?
I mean, dragon.
You think it was like some like
They
dinosaur
have
that never went
lizards.
extinct
They have
that was all over
crocodiles.
the
They have
planet,
alligators.
all over the whole world? That were gigantic
And
lizards,
all guarded gold coins in caves and slayed knights.
Okay, I mean that part is
flew and
just
shit.
woo. I mean,
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say that everything, in every culture.
I mean, they didn't all fly, I guess.
Well, I
I
mean,
mean the ones
Some
in
of them
China, a lot of
different.
times they're in the sea, but then you also had the
Well, a lot of different.
mermaids, and you have
So
the
there's-
sea serpents in the European vernacular or whatever.
I identify as a merman. Thank you.
But I mean, those people were also drunk all the time because they're on a freaking boat with no water. So
So you do think that there's a possibility for interdimensional?
I would say if there
beings.
was anything alien-like, that would be it. Because I don't. Okay, so there's a couple of physicists out there. You can go on YouTube and research it and stuff. But there's a couple of them that would agree with me that even with all the universe as big as it is, and all the galaxies that are present, and all this other stuff, that the Earth had to be put in this Goldilocks zone, and so many
But we
crazy
found-
things had to happen for humans to be made.
I don't think it's really that.
No, I'm not
complicated.
saying
We've
complicated. I'm
already
saying
identified.
the actual chances of things happening in the order that it did for humanity to exist is so high that the chances of it existing may be impossible. It may be impossible.
Well, all right. So let's say, okay. So that this kind of brings us to evolution, right? So like, depending, like, do you guys believe in evolution?
I believe in microevolution, not macroevolution.
I believe in essentially what he said.
Explain.
Adaptation, more or less, rather than
Microevolution being a Chihuahua can mate with a poodle and have another species, but it's still a dog. But it's microevolution. I don't think
What about a wolf?
think a dog.
Becoming a dog.
that's part of the.
I mean, I think they're about the same species, so I think
Okay.
so. But I don't think, a dog can become a squirrel. I don't think a species can become a completely different species.
So you don't think that life could have started from, like, all life could have started from, like, microbes
Negative.
that slowly over time evolved into different things, and if like this microbe turned into this amoeba, and these amoebas.
No, I understand
this
I
temperature.
understand the theory, but no, I don't buy it. Yeah, I'm not into that.
Okay. So I do, right? So I believe in that stuff. And I think that that doesn't mean that it can't blend in with religious. And mind you, I'm not a religious person. But let's say neither here nor there, right? Let's say that hypothetically that is possible. Hypothetically, that's possible. They've already found planets. They've found shit tons of planets that are in the Goldilocks zone that have the potential to be habitable for a human life, and that's just in this exoplanets that we can actually
Potential, but
see that
don't
are around
necessarily
us.
have what we need to survive at this current stage.
No, they do. They're like they have the possibility of having water. They're in the safe zone in terms of how much light we would need, how much energy we would need, how hot it would be, how
They
cold it would
can't tell
be.
any of that stuff from
All
here.
all
The only
those.
thing they can do is detect.
The Goldilocks zone is literally how far away
Yeah, but
from
they
the
can't. They
sun
don't know the
it is based on
percentages.
how strong
They
this
don't know
sun
the
is.
percentages of
No,
oxygen
no, they don't.
versus nitrogen versus
No,
high.
no, no, no. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying based on how far this rock is from this sun and how strong we know this sun is, how much radiation it outputs. It is in the safe zone in terms of
Yeah,
climate,
you're not gonna
right?
melt
Yeah, or
or
catch on
freeze.
fire or whatever. Yeah, or freeze. So if we, with our shitty technology, right, that barely fucking learn how to use in the last 50, 70 years, right? All can now see that stuff, right? Literally within the last 70 years. Why couldn't some civilization that did it 1,000 years ago, why wouldn't they be way ahead of us? Especially because technology is exponential, right? So like we literally didn't have phones in our pockets that were computers all but 13 years ago. Now everyone on the fucking planet has the entire like database of human existence and knowledge in their pocket at all times, and it's interconnected, and everyone can talk about it. Like now, fast forward 1,000 more years, 2,000 more years, 10,000, a million years. That civilization couldn't have made drones and just sent them out. Like we currently have sent fucking satellites and probes out into space with our shitty technology in the last 70 years. Some civilization that existed before then, 1,000, 2,000, couldn't have made. We can make robots. They couldn't have made like robots that they put on probes and sent out. You know what I mean? Like, what if that's the aliens, right? Like, what if it's like
If
their
I'm not
advanced
mistaken, I mean the
drones?
Milky Way is actually, or at least the part of the Milky Way that the Earth belongs to, is a fairly sparse area. We're not highly congregated like a lot of other places are in the solar system, or I mean, sorry, not in the solar system, in the universe / Milky Way galaxy. There's, in fact, I think that, I mean, if there's a lot of factors you have to think about, the the age of the universe, how many collisions and things that happen, in that time frame. There's only a small window where even life would even be able to form, because with all that chaos that was happening in the first trillions, sorry, there's only been it's only 9 billion years. So isn't it 9 billion years?
As far as as far as our understanding of space and time is, mind you, that's also under our understanding of how
Well, I'm going
life
to use the
life
scientific
is,
evidence of it, which
or
is
are, or what? No, but what we are what even like able to comprehend or view or see, right? Like you're talking about. Now imagine this interdimensional thing that we all kind of agree is a real thing
well,
because
we
they've
didn't say it
already
was
proven it's a
real. We
possibility.
just say it's
That, well, okay, possible. Now imagine that also spread amongst the billions and billions of stars and
Settle
millions of
down there,
fucking.
Carl.
It's just quite literally incalculable. Like it's and here's the fucking kicker: the universe is literally expanding as we speak. Like it's growing every single day. Like we don't even know where the fuck where how big
Right.
it is. Like
but
it's not possible.
in the
It's not
last
possible. We don't even know what happens when shit goes
6
into
billion
a
years.
black hole, Isaac.
How old's the Earth?
It doesn't make.
4.5 billion.
That's my
I don't know.
That's my other theory about aliens, by the way. I think
What?
that's how they travel to our dimensions. I think they use black holes.
Well, that's
I
possible.
think it was our 4.5 billion years, 5.4, yeah, 4.543 billion years old. And how old is the universe? Supposedly about 13 billion, right? There's a lot of chaos that was occurring, for the first 10 billion years of this freaking universe, right? Even in
Okay,
our
but now,
history,
right.
the
So you say,
Earth's history, which is fairly young,
how
we've
do we
had
know? So,
we've had
so you're
huge
going off the
comets and
Big
all this
Bang
other stuff
theory,
hitting it, right? Well, this
but you're talking about we're talking about the Earth. The Earth sits in the universe, right? And the universe is expanding. We agree on this, right? Because
well, I mean,
that's
as
something they
far as
fuckers have
physics is
seen, right?
concerned, yeah, science and
Science and physics is concerned. Okay, we don't know where the middle is.
we don't know where the middle is.
If the Earth is if the Earth is 5 billion years, 4.5 billion years, and the universe, as far as we understand it, it was 13, right? Now let's say that's more than twice as long as that's another 9 billion, 8 billion years that are unaccounted for. Now, if the Earth is on the outside edges of where this original thing started the universe, right? They could be fucking billions of years ahead of us and billions of years away.
Yeah, but my thing is, there was chaos in the universe, right? There's things impacting each
And
other.
it would have
There's,
started but it would have started at its at the
of
center,
course, it would have started at the
right?
center.
And that chaos would have started there, and then it would
Things are
expand it
flying
out
around at
from the center.
crazy rates.
What I'm saying is, if the Earth was able to coalesce and create, and the chaos was able to slow down enough for the Earth to exist, and the Earth is only 4.5 billion years, then however much time it would have taken for that to happen, it would have already happened at where the
No,
center,
I think that
because it's
what I'm saying
going
is there's probably more
outwards.
chaos at the center because it's closer to where things were at.
Oh, I think it would be the
Well,
opposite.
especially if there's,
I think there'd be less chaos
I don't know how there would be less chaos. There's so much chaos even for the Earth. I mean, there's
because it's moving outwards. It starts here
yes,
and it moves out.
everything is moving out in a way, yeah, but everything still revolves around some kind of gravitational field. So things are still
I would, in my head, the way the chaos, where the chaos would be where the universe is currently expanding, and where it's being created, and where it's being generated, and where the
no,
outside
because
plume
even now
of
there's still
the
more.
explosion
There's
is, not in
still
the center
more
of the
in the
explosion.
center rings of the universe, or how we identify it.
So
There's still more.
when there's
There's
an
still more
explosion,
there, and when we're looking in that direction, we can see quasars and planets hitting each other, or like suns hitting each other and such, because there's still a lot of that chaos. Of course, we're looking back in time because when that stuff occurs, it's in the past, essentially, right? But
we're
but
literally looking at
even if
the
it was a
history
billion
of what
years or
those
whatever,
things
that's
are.
still pretty recent, as far as these events are talking about.
No, but so when you have an explosion, right? Let's say the nuclear bomb went off. When the nuclear bomb goes off, everything explodes from the nuclear bomb outwards, and the the radiation happens, where the explosion happened, and then all the energy goes
Yeah,
outwards,
but that doesn't
right?
assume that there's a
Then
gravitational pull
everything
still
so
still holding those planets and things in
but that's the
place.
thing. There was nothing before,
There had to have been
as
something
far as
before
we're
for the Big
concerned,
Bang
right?
to occur.
What if God, or whatever people consider God, started it? What if it was literally like, thing now existed, nothing,
Mhm.
now there is something. So from nothing came something, and from that initial spark, that's where everything came from. So the ground zero, where the detonation of the Big Bang would have happened, everything's been going outwards. The explosion started and stopped there
Yeah,
first,
but there's still
So
gravity pulling things together.
and all that happened afterwards is things coming from it. It's the aftermath of
all
it.
right,
So if anything, the Earth is the aftermath, or the
But not
residual waves
not
of
everything's going
catastrophe.
only outwards, though. That's what I'm saying. Because of gravity, things are being
okay.
pulled back towards the center too.
So let's land the plane. What does this have to do with aliens? What point were we trying to make with that?
That if, for me, it's like, if we're saying that based on our science, because we don't fucking know anything,
Hmm.
but based on our science, the universe is 13 billion years old, and the Earth is 4.5 billion years old.
So there could be
That
another
means there's like
civilization 9 billion years ahead of us.
that's fucking way ahead of us. Way ahead of us. And if within the spectrum of 70 years we are able to go from fucking nothing to literally space probes going into space that can see other planets and exoplanets and creating drones and sending fucking rovers to other planets, why wouldn't it be possible that a civilization that was even just 1,000 years ahead of us, fuck billions of years ahead of us, 1,000, 100 years ahead of us, why wouldn't that civilization have been able to send their version of 100 year in the future drone or spacecraft or probe to over
Maybe
here?
it's possible.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if they had the same idea of getting out. I mean, there's a lot of things that depends on, right? That there's A, intelligent thought, B, that there's somebody thinking, oh, let's leave this planet that we're on because we live in a totally perfectly good planet. They had the elements on that planet to create the thing, the spacecraft. They had people smart enough to create the spacecraft. They had the fuel and all the elements that are needed to do that. And then for them to just have, the societies that we've been, capable of having, where they're not at war 100% of the time, which even our world has historically had wars going on pretty much consistently until the last 100 years, and even then we've been through a couple different types of wars. I mean, there's a lot of things that have to go into place to even have that capability.
Well, I mean, that argument
Just
can be
on
said about the
that's
same thing about us. There's a lot of things that had to happen for us. to
Oh,
be
and that's
where
what
we
I'm
are.
saying.
So, is it,
That's
is,
my
is
point.
it possible? Yes, because we did it.
Yeah, is it possible? Yes, sure. But is it possible for every other
yeah.
civilization or one other civilization out there? Maybe.
We have
Maybe.
creatures on this planet that if they
All
were
those apes.
not hindered by fucking or ants or bees that literally work together as a fucking unit and all work towards one common purpose and goal, and the only reason they're not larger is because the gravity in the atmosphere keep them small. What if fucking ants were living in a planet that didn't require them to be small because their exoskeletons were made out of a different matter that's not, or they weren't carbon based, they're like silicone based or some shit, or fucking graphite based, and now there's gigantic ants, and they fucking, because they're gigantic, they have more intelligence, but they still work in the same way where they can organize towards and work towards a common goal and all work in unison and function together and all care about the same thing, and they don't fucking infight and argue because it's all fucking pheromones and bullshit and one queen. Like, there's on our fucking planet all the different life forms that exist. Like, that is nuts. That and all of those things are still evolving, still growing, still developing, still getting smarter and stupider and changing. Like, in a million years, we could be dumb again, and fucking the
It won't take a million
chimpanzees can
years
be the next thing.
for us to be dumb again.
Whatever.
No.
You know what I mean? A billion
I
years,
think
whatever.
it'll take about 5.
5 years for us to be dumb again. Yeah, it's not
Like,
like very
yes.
much. That's what I'm saying. I mean,
All
I don't
right.
know about all that. The only point that I was saying is there's a lot of chaos that had happened not only in the beginning of the universe, but
Yeah.
even now consistently.
And it's still happening.
The Earth happens to be in an area where we have a little bit less chaos going on. That, with a lot of other factors, make it very, very possible for the Earth to be where it is. I mean, obviously, it had to have happened, right? But for that to happen in other places is pretty difficult. Go look it up, YouTube it, whatever. But I mean, I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but I just don't think that it does, and I don't think that there's a whole lot of evidence for it out there.
Listen, all I know is that we don't know shit.
I will agree, but we
Every
don't
single
know a
time
lot.
someone tells me they know something, every time someone tells me they know something, a few years later, turns out they were fucking wrong. Some shit causes cancer, fucking some bullshit, and we were wrong. Like, something is wrong or inaccurate, or there's some nuance to it, or change, or the understanding of it was just a building block to the greater thing. Like, there's so very little that we concretely know about existence,
Yeah,
right?
I agree.
A lot of it is tainted by our perception of reality, our perception of where life came from, what it means to be alive, why we're here, how we're here. Like all of that is tainted by that, right? Even what we are capable of seeing, when we know that there's things that we cannot see, like even that taints what we believe or what we think. Like there's so many possibilities on everything, and it's all limited by our understanding, and we are, in my mind, cannot I highly doubt that we're the most intelligent things, because even if you're not a religious person and you're a spiritual person, or you think that there's a creator, that in of itself means that there's something smarter and more intelligent and more powerful than anything you can possibly comprehend. And that in and of itself could be the alien, right? That everyone thinks that we're talking, like, you know what I mean, like, so it's like we know so little about everything, and and there's no possible way that with our lack of knowledge we can really concretely say that we're the only things that exist. We just it's just like, and to me, it's it's like hubris, like to the infinitesimal hubris, not hubris, I think that's the wrong word, but
That might be what you mean.
uh
I mean, I don't know if that's correct, but I don't know. That's probably what you mean.
yeah, hubris, it is hubris.
I think at the end of the day, what we can learn from this episode is we don't know shit.
I mean, I would agree. We don't know
We don't.
anything. We don't know how
We
the
don't.
body works.
We
We don't
really
know how
don't.
our planet works. We don't know how a lot of things work. So
We
for
don't
us,
know nothing, man.
obviously everything that we say is speculation. It's nothing. Nothing is concrete.
Of
But
course.
No.
we can believe what we want to believe. But until we see some, you know, people are like this. It's until we see
But
something with our own
that's
eyes, they
why I'm
don't believe it.
inclined.
So unless
Yeah.
But that's the thing. That's why I'm inclined to believe that it's because all the evidence points to it being highly unlikely that we are the only thing. It's almost it's like, and I would have to be proven the opposite, because everything points towards that. Even as something as simple as, well, if there's a God, then there's other beings, or at least a being. Where did he come from? Right? Like, if there's a God, there's something that can create something out of nothing, and that means there's more than I can comprehend. I can't even think about what the fuck that is.
Yeah.
well,
That's
yeah, it's something that philosophers have been talking about and religious people have been talking about forever.
forever.
I mean,
But
that's what I'm saying. Like, that in of itself is like, holy shit. Like, yeah, I'm a speck of space dust floating through what I think is
I do
the
believe that God exists.
universe,
I believe
right?
that he exists
Like,
on a separate plane, though. That he's outside of what we can distinguish as time and space. Where we can, and therefore he's able to manipulate, or could manipulate if he wanted to, things within the
what
planet,
if
within our
what people
universe.
have been experiencing as aliens is what Aaron's saying? What if it's fallen angels? What if it's demons? What if it's spirits? Fucking what if it's
Yeah,
God
I don't
or angels?
I
Like,
don't
we don't fucking
disagree
know.
that there's a possibility for those things. I just wouldn't call them aliens the way that we're describing them here, I guess.
Yeah, I
Well, that's
mean,
my
Because
whole
I
thing
would think
is that
they're
yeah, I mean,
to me they would be more
they all can
spiritual
be
and rather
conflated.
than physical, but they could be physical and they could be on our same plane. And I don't know. Shit.
I think the most elegant explanation is usually the right explanation, and I think that the simplest thing is usually the right thing. And the fact that across the world, across different cultures, civilizations, across different times and places and languages and fucking different belief structures and gods and deities and everything, there's always been something about God, something about aliens, something about creatures and fucking mythological shit. And I think that the simplest explanation for all of those things is that they're all the same thing.
Or
They're
that
all
people are just
something
stupid
that
and
we
they
don't
make boogeyman out
understand.
of everything that they see.
Or I mean, they could be demons, to
Yeah.
cause confusion. I mean, Isaac, I
Or
know you're with me
could
on
be.
that. The Bible says, God's not the author of confusion.
Mhm.
So
Well, yeah, we're definitely
I don't know.
confused. That's for sure. So
All right, let's wrap it up, boys. So, again, moral of the episode is we don't know jack shit about anything, which is about 100% accurate. We know a tip of a needle of what knowledge there is in the universe. So, anyway, thank you guys for joining us. And like I said earlier, be sure to check out our website, partiallycultured.com. The social media links are in the bottom. And with that, we'll see you guys in the next one.